these are the parts of your instrument. Violin and viola have the same parts and they're made the same way. The cello has most of the same parts, but there's a few differences, and I will show you them on the cello behind me. So starting from the top, you've got this curly mahoojer, and this is called the scroll. It looks like you rolled up a piece of paper. It's very decorative. That's called the scroll. Further down from the scroll, we have these black wooden pieces called the pegs, and those are what your strings are wrapped around. As a beginner, do not touch the pegs. Don't try and fix your strings. Don't try and use them to tune. It's easy to break a string. Please don't touch the pegs. If there's a problem with your pegs or something has come loose, please bring it to me and I will fix it for you. Okay. Further down, we have this black piece of wood that goes all the way along, and it's black, but it's a piece of wood called ebony, and we call that the fingerboard because it's the board piece of wood onto which you put your fingers in order to play. So that's called the fingerboard. Now the fingerboard is the black piece of wood, but the lighter piece of wood back here, both of those combined are called the neck, and the neck goes from here to here. Okay, so that's the neck. Then going further down, obviously we have the strings. The strings are held up here by the bridge. That's called the bridge. Then further down, the strings are attached to this piece here called the tailpiece. The tailpiece has these little dials on them called fine tuners. And when we finally learn to tune, these are the tuners we're going to be using to tune your instrument way before we start using the pegs. So please don't use the pegs. You have to buy strings if you break them, and I don't want to put you through the cost. So don't use the pegs. Use the fine tuners once we learn how towards the end of the year, but at this point, bring your instrument every week so I can tune it. Now, fine tuners are on the tailpiece. The tailpiece, there is this little cable that comes out of the end of the tailpiece that wraps around on the end here. We call that the tail gut. And then the tail gut wraps around on the violin and viola this little peg that goes into the bottom of your instrument called the end button. On the cello, there is no end button, but we do have a tailpiece. So there's a little screw here that you can loosen, and then you slide out this long metal rod, which is what sets that on the floor so that you can hold your cello up in a position where you can play it, and it sits on the floor on this end pin. So that's different on the cello than it is on the violin and viola. Violin and viola, you don't set on the floor, you hold on your shoulder and you hold it up with the side of your jaw. And we call the thing that you hold on to with the side of your jaw, we call that the chin rest. It's not really the chin rest, it's actually the side of the jaw rest, but we call that the chin rest. Okay, so those are the main parts of the instrument. There are these F-holes here. We call them F-holes because they look like old-timey cursive calligraphy Fs, and one's flipped backwards. Now, if you want to go a little further onto parts of your instrument, the top piece of wood, this top piece right here, is called the top. Then these pieces of wood that wrap around on the outside are called the ribs. And this part on the back is called the back. And if you look inside one of the F-holes, and I won't be able to show this on video, but if you look inside the F-hole on the thinner string side, the higher side, you will see that there is a little wooden dowel that goes straight up and down between the top and the back of your instrument. And that's called the sound post. Now the sound post job is when the strings are vibrating on top here and is making the bridge vibrate, that makes the top that the bridge is setting on vibrate, but the sound post takes that vibration and it comes to the back of the instrument right about here, and it makes the back vibrate too, which helps make your instrument louder. It also helps the instrument hold up to the pressure of the strings pressing down. On the other side, it's barely visible, but you can just see it on the inside of the F-hole up on top. Glued to the top on the inside, there's this long piece of wood that goes under this lower bridge foot, this bridge foot under the thicker strings, and that's called the bass bar. And both of those things help hold up the bridge and transfer the sound to the entirety of the box of the instrument to make it louder and sound better. So those are the parts of your instrument. Please learn these so that when we come to lessons and I need to talk about certain parts of your instrument, you understand what I'm talking about. Thanks for stopping by.